What up, y'all? We're here for our weekly anchor message where we are taking a look at our spiritual lessons and themes for the week, things that we will be working with. We took a break yesterday for Memorial Day. We did have a new moon in Gemini, and I wanted to do a workshop, but I wasn't able to do it before I went out, and then it was too late when I got home. So I thought, you know what? We're just going to talk about the new moon a little bit tonight. It's kind of built in with the themes of the readings anyway, and I'm sure throughout the week that it's going to be coming up. But we did have a new moon in Gemini, and this is this perfect moment where, you know, we talk about on this channel that the new moon is the seed level of the whole month. So not only does it affect those couple of days surrounding the new moon, this informs the energy that you will be experiencing throughout the month ahead. So it's always important to really set your consciousness during that new moon and those, you know, days around that new moon to really plant the right seeds for the month to come. New moons tend to be a little bit more chaotic and challenging, and so we can be provoked and reactive. And so if we're very reactive, then we might reveal a little bit of chaos through the month. But if we are able to practice restriction and sovereignty and self-control, and we, you know, are able to transcend our reactivity and keep our consciousness in, you know, a place of joy, peace, goodness, fulfillment, appreciation, any of those high vibrational emotions and consciousness, then that really opens the month ahead for a lot more fluidity and harmony and flow and abundance. So I hope that yesterday was good for you, but we're still in that energy. So, you know, it's not too late if you wanted to tonight to like do a manifestation list of the things that you would like to see come about this month and 3 action steps towards like what you are going to do to move the needle forward towards that goal. But right now, so we're coming out of, so after Passover, we have the Omer. Right? 7 weeks of challenge that activate the 7 dimensions of our human soul and psyche. So we're activating this upgrade, this up level. And in order to do that, like, we have to embody the spiritual wisdom and all the light and blessing that we took in during Passover. So over these 7 weeks, we've been challenged. Well, we're entering into our 7th week of the Omer. 7 of 7, yay! We made it. This is our victory lap, the finish line. And so this is the dimension of Malchut. This is the physical kingdom, the material realm, where everything that we can see, feel, taste, smell, and touch, everything in the manifest realm, this is the dimension of Malchut. So this is the week, the moment where we manifest our new beingness, right? We went through the whole timeline jump, and this year has been like us kind of coming online into this, finding our footing in this new story, this new chapter. And I feel like we haven't really fully started to launch into that chapter. It's almost been like the preface of the story or the introduction before we really get into the story. So in this moment of the Omer, we've been activated in all of our dimensions, and now it's the final revelation of the transformation. And so this is where we sort of step up into our up level and we embody this newer, higher version of self with our next level of consciousness, and we start living in the embodiment of this. Maybe some of our goals are starting to come into fruition. Maybe things that we've been working towards are finally starting to feel like they're fleshing out, and maybe it was pretty bare bones for a long time. So this is thy kingdom come moment, right? Where, it's showtime. The dress rehearsal is over. We're a go. And so the very final day of the Omer is a holiday called Shavuot. And this is the day that the Torah was given to the Israelites at Mount Sinai. When they finally arrived at Mount Sinai and they got their bearings, they were given the Torah by God. They didn't have the Torah before that, right? So this is where God gave Moses the 5 books of Moses, the Torah. And so we celebrate that because that is when the Israelites came into full perfection and union in their covenant with God. And so this week, this is our moment where we get to choose to choose that higher self-consciousness. We have our lower nature and we have our higher nature. And the us that we are is just sort of in a tug of war in between those two all the time. And so as we are moving forward and we are consciously co-creating this new chapter, this new reality, this new timeline with God, we also have to choose to rise above our lower nature and be and become and live in and have our being in and move within our higher nature, our higher self, our higher consciousness. So Gemini, the 2 twins, right? This is the twins within our psyche. The tug of war between our lower nature, our reactive, selfish, carnal, petty, greedy, power-hungry self, and the scared self, the timid self, the oh no, not me, little old me, that downplaying the self. That's also an ego-driven self, right? So it's we're rising above. We're being able to identify that self and choose the higher self. Choose that there's a perfected whole version of us within us already, our spirit that's ready to guide us and lead us and honestly merge with our lower conscious personalities. Our super consciousness wants to merge with our consciousness, with our waking consciousness. And so as we do the correction on our soul and do the healing, we transform the negative layers and we reveal more of the real, true self as we take off the masks and the layers and the veils of the false self, of the illusion, of the pain, of the defense mechanisms, of the unconscious belief systems, all of that. So the more we can shed of what's not our truest, highest, purest self, the more that higher radiance comes out and we're more in aligned with cosmic flow and favor and harmony and blessing and fulfillment. So that's where we're at this week with the new moon completely in alignment with that. The Gemini of the twins, right? The Gemini twins. The Lovers card in the tarot is the Gemini card. And in the Lovers, the story of the card is that you are at a Y point in the road and you have to choose and you have to make a choice. Well, we're at this point, we're a Y point in the road where we have to make a choice because we have to choose what we're creating with God. What kind of life are we leading? Who are we becoming? Who are we showing up as? And so we have to make choices. We have to choose, between the two selves that are always at war with one another. And so at this point lately, we've been becoming so crystal clear on the old stuff that comes up, our old patterns, our old automatic responses, our reflexive reactivity. And we're just it's so clear now how much this doesn't serve me. How it doesn't lead me to feel good, but it leads me to feel terrible. It leads to chaos. It leads to more karma to be corrected. And it's too costly and too heavy and too burdensome. And so it's easier once we get that revelation, it's almost easier to just be the higher self. It's simpler, it feels better, it's more, it brings you more favor, it brings you more flow and harmony, it brings you more positivity and more abundance and more blessing. But it just feels like, it feels like so much more effort. It feels so foreign, it feels out of our comfort zone because our ego is resisting it the whole way, right? So this Gemini new moon is helping us shed those old false selves that are holding us back and reveal this, reveal more of our potential by revealing this higher self within that is so, that's sort of like seeping through. It's like we're becoming so much more saturated with the higher self, with the pure self, with the undefiled or uncorrupted file, so to speak, right? So from the wild unknown archetypes, we've got the one, followed by the medallion, followed by the temple. Underneath the one, we have 3 of swords. Underneath the medallion, we have the devil. And underneath the temple, we have 2 of swords. Okay, so the one is just that. It's the one, the oneness of all that is. The fact that the creator in God's most abstract level and layer and expression is undefinable. There's no physical image that you can put on it. God contains everything. Everything is within God. And God He makes up everything. He, she, they, God, like it's beyond a physical, like person type of thing. It's the light. It's just pure light. And the light contains everything within it, everything that will be created, right? So the one, the more we merge with our higher self, the more we build affinity with the light, and the more we can connect in sacred union with and become one with the one, right? We want to become one within, so we, can settle and we can settle all the conflict within ourselves, right? The warring parts of within us that are just like pulling ourselves in 2 directions. So we become one within ourselves. And then when that happens, it's like, then we can merge with the one, with the higher self, and then with the ultimate one, the creator, right? In sacred union, in that alchemical marriage. And so when we are in this state, it's like that's when we're in the flow and in the miracle zone, when things are manifesting, when miracles are happening, like it's just normal. This is where the Israelites were, spiritually speaking, when they went to Mount Sinai and were given the Torah and were experiencing physical miracles and immortality and the end of pain and suffering and disease. While that consciousness lasted, they were one with the creator and everything was perfect and blissful. But they lost that consciousness. They fell out of that consciousness and then fell back into the chaos again. So this moment is like we are being offered, or it's becoming more and more clear to us how to be more often in this state of oneness, when we can feel that fulfillment, when everything feels complete, we're whole. And from that state, like literally ailments in our body start healing. We manifest things like so crazily easy that we don't even realize that we're doing it. Like, we're in that state of flow. we can see how holding on to our pain and our disappointment and our dissatisfaction and, these lower vibrational emotions are keeping us in that state of separation, which also keeps us in those cycles of chaos, pain, suffering. And that's just part of the simulation. That's part of the game that we're in. And so now that we are seeing this realm more clearly for what it is, realizing that, the things that are happening to play out and to allow our soul to fully correct and to fully play out and to fully come into its full potential. Right? So every challenge, every opportunity, all of those things are orchestrated for our highest good so that our soul can eventually come into perfection. And that includes the painful moments and the challenging moments and all of those things. But if we can understand that all of it was perfect, then we can let go of the unease and our bitterness about it. And we can accept it as part of God's plan. And we let go of a lot of the heaviness that we carry around beating ourselves up about it. So we're like, oh, okay, this was all part of it. That brings us more into a state of God's rest. It's like, oh, okay, I can be at peace. I can have a sense of well-being. Most of the Torah, most of the Zohar keeps telling us over and over and over again, if we can have faith that everything's okay, it's taken care of, manna will come from the sky if we need it to. God's got a plan. If we can just be in a state of positive expectancy, doing good for others, feeling appreciation, being in a state of certainty in the Creator and faith and feeling a sense of well-being, that keeps us in this bubble of unity, of protection, of oneness, of connection with God. But when we get in a state of fear, lack, doubt, blame, jealousy, like the lower vibrational feelings, those tear us away from the Creator. They cut us off from our blessings. And so the more we can see the way that the rules of the game work, the better we are at playing the game, and the less desirable reactive behavior and negative emotions feel to us. And so we're more aware of them when we have them, because we understand that they cost us something and there's stakes involved, right? So that's when we can practice more self-control and say, pause, okay, taking a time out, let's like get a little bit of distance from this emotional upset and get out of the soap opera, and say, okay, well, why is this happening? What's this? Why is this in my movie? Why would Creator be showing me this? What is this trying to tell me about myself? Is it showing me something that can be corrected? And so we learn, oh, okay, life is always presenting me opportunities to correct my tikkun and to up-level my soul, right? We are all one, and we see how everything's connected, and we feel the oneness in all things. And it's all really just our process of returning to that, that oneness with God, that full connection that we had in the Garden of Eden. And it's our ego that draws that veil and causes us to forget and creates that separation. And so basically, I love this. This is the medallion, and this is the devil card here. Well, this literally reminds me of in Super Mario, when Mario, or I don't know, I guess it's just like any of the Mario games. Let's not get too caught up on the nuances. So when Mario is going through those little worlds, the levels, so many times, so while Mario is going through the levels, all the little bad guys are coming and the little opponents are coming at him in different forms. But one of the opponents that everybody remembers from Mario is the mushrooms. The little mushroom bad guys. And so what happens is little Mario jumps on the little mushroom guys, smashes them, and then they release coins. And then Mario jumps up and grabs the coin, and then he's like, broop, 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 and he's Super Mario'd, and then he has more power, and he's faster, and he's bigger, and he can jump further, and he gets through the rest of the level with more ease, right? Same for us. The opponent, the devil, the Satan, he comes in, and there's a female opponent too, a male opponent and the female opponent, and they work in cahoots, right? And so they come in and they try to trip us up. But it's like when we can catch that and overcome the opponent and foil the opponent, and then overcome our reactive nature and overcome our darkness and negativity, then that squashes the opponent in that moment. We earn our light back from the dark side, and then we are up leveled in that transformation and that alchemy. So what's interesting too is that the devil card is associated with Capricorn, earth sign, but we are in this final week of the Omer, which is related to the material manifestation. The devil card is also about material manifestation and making things solid and long lasting. Aries has just moved into, or Saturn has just moved into Aries. And so the strict disciplinary of Saturn is trying to teach Aries how to hone in that impulsivity and use that energy in a more wise and productive way. Be consistent, being disciplined, but not being so impulsive, right? But you harnessing that fire all the same. So we've got the 7th week of the Omer, bringing things into fruition, bringing us into the realm of manifestation. And so that's kind of like what we're here now. It's like we're victoriously, like we've made it to the end of these weeks of challenge. We've put our heart and our consciousness and our effort into making strides to change and to transform our darkness. And so because of that, it's like we're getting this talisman, we're getting this up level from spirit, this next level of our soul. And we could be manifesting something into fruition, quite literally, very soon. So wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? But ultimately, this is all about like rebuilding the temple within ourselves, right? Reawakening and resurrecting into that higher self where it's easier to spot our fearful voice, and be able to tell the difference between the voice of the opponent and the voice of that lower self that keeps us stuck, that keeps us trapped and going in patterns and in circles. And instead be able to tune in directly to source and really strengthen that connection so that we are so crystal clear on the voice of the Holy Spirit that's guiding us towards our greatest fulfillment and our highest good and our ultimate achievement and all of that. In order to have that connection, though, we have to be constantly aware of it and appreciative of it, and to have, times throughout the day where we tune inward and we turn inward and we make that connection. Times that we have during the day that we use our prayer and we say our prayers and we connect to the Creator through our prayer. We keep that connection strong through studying scriptures and the Gospels. This could be the Old Testament, this could be the New Testament, this could be the Gnostic Gospels, Dead Sea Scrolls, ancient wisdom, right? You could be studying the Zohar. This is the ancient scriptures that reveal things to us over time, right? So it's like the Torah reveals itself, the secrets of the Torah, the deeper meanings, the deeper layers will reveal themselves to you through your devotion and dedication. But sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it takes sticking with it for those things to happen. Ultimately, though, We have developed a practice and a devotion that's helping us on a consistent basis try to transform that lower self, that former self, and rise above that and become this new version of self. Embody the growth and the healing that we've experienced. Enhancing ourselves, not changing completely from the past. Like, we love ourselves. We want to bring out the best of ourselves, basically what's happening. So it's also helping us get over like this indecision and feeling like we're pulled in maybe two different directions, or like we're in a stalemate, or like we don't know which way to go. It's like we've gone through a season of being reset and rebooted, and now it's like we're ready. We see clearly. We understand what it's going to take from us, and also what is getting in the way of our strong, uninterrupted connection with the Creator, right? Think about it like a telephone, like a telephone connection, but like your cell phone connection, right? If you are in a spot like in your house where you're like, oh, I can get good service here, but I can't get good service over there. It's like that's how delicate our connection is with the Creator at any given moment. We can lose connection so fast based on our consciousness. If we are not in a state of affinity with the Creator, then we lose connection, right? So are we, if we're have our panties in a twist and we're, anxious or whatever, we're not in connection with Creator. But when we're in a state of peace and appreciation and goodness and fulfillment, and we're in that realm of like the fruits of the Spirit, then that's when we're in that connection. So knowing that it takes our awareness, and it's a practice and a discipline, and just deciding within ourselves. And I think that's going to help us get out of this feeling like we're in this like stalemate, or like in this like kind of plateau. I think we're really getting over the hump, and we're going to catch some momentum. All right, y'all, that is all for today. I hope this treats you well. We will be back tomorrow for, let's see, what's today? So today's Tuesday, because we're one day off. So tomorrow we will have our alchemy message for the week. We will be unpacking the work and talking about like how we're approaching it. All right, peace.